How do?
Now then,
Good
morning.
So I'm going to introduce this chap. No 20 questions. Those that are new to the channel, what I usually do with a new guest, Sam in a van, live Clive, all that jive, is do 20 questions by way of an introduction, light-hearted. So I'm going to introduce this guy. We're going to ignore the fact he's got a Man U tracksuit top on. Yeah, don't judge him by that, or the fact he's wearing a baseball cap when he's old enough to be my granddad.
I wouldn't have thought that.
No, obviously not. We're of a similar age. No, seriously. Firstly, thanks for all the nice comments from the vlog yesterday. I will talk about that a bit more, Monster Mansion, and I'm going to revisit it. Somebody told me, go up to the train station, you can see that the layout of the whole jail. I will do that. Right, you want to judge someone. We've just had a coffee and a little chat. So Chris has basically took two dogs near him. Cut a long story short, abandoned. He took them in, gone through all the procedures, checked them out, whether anyone owned them, asked in the area, been to a vet, see whether they were chipped. He has a lovely chocolate Labrador, Reuben, who has been walking with Steve once.
He has, yeah.
When we had a bit of a meet up and chat. So yeah, he just took them two dogs on, no questions, into his home. And you can judge people by how they are with animals. So Chris was a prison officer for
4 months short of 25 years.
25 years. You started in
January 1992.
A few little questions just before we get going. How much change did you see in that job?
Ooh. Monstrous amounts of change.
Go on then. Were lasses working in job?
They were, yeah. There's not as many as there are now.
Yep.
But they were.
Yep.
But I started my time down in Wandsworth, and I suppose that's a little bit different to most with the staffing levels. Back then, I remember we used to have around about 14, 16 staff for an unlock on A-Wing where I worked.
And how many were on A-Wing?
In excess of 300, easy, because it was a big old wing.
Yep.
Wandsworth A-Wing. But the staffing that was phenomenal, especially for serving meals. It was flooded with staff.
Yep.
Clearly we haven't got those staff now.
No.
But I moved from Wandsworth to Hull, and the difference in staffing levels was shocking. We went down to 8 on C-Wing at Hull, and I thought, wow, this is...
And how big were that wing?
When I was on there, we had about 220 on there on C-Wing, 4 landings.
Round about when was that?
93, September 93 I got to Hull. And yeah, the staffing, I thought that's the thing that hit me straight away was, where's all the officers?
What about terms and conditions?
Terms and conditions, in what respect?
You know, money. Well, we've already discussed money.
Yeah, I mean...
You were on then a couple of grand.
Less than what starters are on now. And yeah, I mean, obviously I had London waiting as well.
Which is?
That's if you have to. There were. I think there's more now, but there were 3 bands of London waiting.
Explain what London waiting.
London waiting. I think that's the idea of that is if you have to work in London, obviously your expenses are a lot more than they are
cost
elsewhere.
of living.
Cost of living.
Yeah.
So you had an uplift on your salary.
Yep.
I was classed as inner London, so I got, I think it was about 2.5 grand. Then you had an outer London, and I can't remember what the middle one was. But there was certainly 3 bands of London waiting. So then I came to Hull, I lost my London waiting, but I was still on about 19 grand in 1993. And
which was 2 grand more than I started in 2005.
Yeah, but without a doubt, the salaries have been eroded dramatically.
Staffing levels
eroded. And I have to say, and it's not being disrespectful to today's staffing, I think people are different as well that join the job now. When I joined, the minimum age was 21, and I was 21 when I joined. I think now is it 18 now?
How much experience was around you though?
Oh,
Years.
a lot, donkey's years. And I found when I come to the end of mine, we were sat in visits, and we were all the group of officers all sat there. How long have you got in? 22 years. How long about you? Or 30. How long have you got in? 28. And between the 5 of us, we had well in excess of 100 years experience between us, and we all sat there and laughed, and we thought, wow. And you go out there now and you got young 18, 19-year-olds coming in the job, and unfortunately, over the past, I would say 6-7 years maybe.
I would say 20 years. It started, seriously, 10 years, didn't it?
Yeah, but what I was going to say was the medical inefficiency business, where they're getting rid of.
Oh yeah.
You only need to be on sick for a few months, and straight, with stress or depression or injuries or any excuse now. I believe they're looking to get rid of those that cost them money in pensions and things like that. And over the past, certainly when I left, there was a shed load of us all from the same jail that all got finished on medical inefficiency. Now what that's doing as well, if you think about it, it's all the experience is being drained. So what you've got left, no disrespect to them, you got youngsters straight out of college. Some of them, it was their first job, and they haven't got that experience, or not as much of that experience around them to nurture them and bring them through.
And no life skills either.
And well, no life skills, no, certainly not.
Do you know what, Chris? A lot of people message me, young people. Remember a lad, I hadn't heard from him from a while, who was SO. He'd been in job 12 months. He says, Sam, I'm 21, I'm an SO. He says, I feel like I'm out for depth. I went for this promotion, I got it, weren't expecting to get it. And there's lots of people like that. Am I too young? I have not deterred anyone. I think knowing what you're going into, knowing what to expect, maybe it is a good thing. Because I think how the prison service sell the job. If you look prison service website, starting 37 hours, 22 grand. They advertise it as 25, which is 41 hours or whatever. They have the unlocked graduates all doing their bit. It sounds like, go into this job, help people, change the world and all. No. For me, what people have to understand is you can do anything you like above the shop floor, wings. But the clientele, i.e. the prisoners, they're not changing.
No, they don't change.
How you treat them determines your day, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And as I say, what I noticed with some of the younger element is, because they haven't got any life skills, you'll get a fella come to you on the wing and ask you a question. He's struggling with his mental health, or he's struggling with his family contacts. Something as simple as not having his phone numbers on his pins yet, on their pin account. Whereas myself, I would quite happily look into it for him straight away and say, right, well, let's have a look. And then when I could determine that, yeah, he's telling the truth, it has been nearly a fortnight or well over a week since he put his application in, I would go and get the lad's number, the lad's mother's number, or father, whoever it is he's trying to contact, and I'd go and ring them. And I'd say, just to let you know, little Johnny, we've got him here. He's doing fine. We're still waiting for his numbers to go on. Can you not worry about him? I can't bring him to the phone because I can't just put prisoners on the staff phone.
Yep.
But just be assured he's fine. And he did ask, are you coming to visit him? And obviously I'd
excuse me, I'm just going to drop windows. I have to start my car. Just getting a bit warm. Hold that thought. Do you want to get yours open a bit?
Yeah, you can do, yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, so I would take that time to go and ring his family and just reassure them that he is doing okay.
Something about that, if I was a young member of staff with you, I'm learning.
Exactly. But do you know what? The sad thing is, there are some real experienced staff who wouldn't do that as well.
Of course there is.
Which there is a mix in all walks of life, in all jobs. There's a mix. But I would go out my way to do that, and I've got them life skills to know that young lad, whatever he's done, what he's in jail for, whatever his crime is, he's still got a family out there. He's still got kids. He's still got a mum and dad that are worried about him. They haven't heard from him. So I wouldn't mind going and doing that, but I don't think today's it's disrespectful.
It isn't being right. Listen, Chris, it's not being disrespectful. they wouldn't understand, or they wouldn't know what to do. Or if they went and asked someone, you know, I've got a lad here and had a phone call, you know, oh fuck him, he'll have to wait till his PIN number goes on or whatever. I'm going to say something about yourself.
Can I just say something before you do?
Yeah.
When you're saying about, some staff will say, oh, fuck him, wait for it. When you say, fuck him, he can wait for his numbers to go on, I don't think people realise what an effect that can have. And not just on the prisoner, but for the rest of the staff, because you've now got a prisoner there, frustrated, upset, getting wound up, that he can't get hold of his mum, to at least just say to his mum, I love you, mum, I'm all right. Someone's then just said, fuck him, he can wait for his numbers to go on.
Especially now they're banged up all day.
Exactly. And now he's gone from not only being upset and nervy, and he's now angry. He's now angry. And the chances of him lashing out to somebody when he gets unlocked have increased. So saying fuck him, no, wait for his app to come back, isn't the answer. It's not. It is in some cases, but they are rare.
I'm going to big you up now. Just take it on the chin. Sit back and relax a minute. I obviously never worked with Chris. We have a lot of the same opinions, views on prison. You know, how the job should be done. You know, we would have got on if we worked together. We'd have enjoyed working together. It doesn't mean we're exactly the same person, but definitely our views and how we did the job, you know, just having a bit of empathy. The other thing is that Chris will agree with, when he was at Hull and when people were out on association and that, if he was with me and I'm Officer Jobsworth, I don't do anything, the prisoners would know that and they go to him. So you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
You know, they'd look at me and think,
yeah, avoid him. No,
exactly.
He's on again. Don't ask him.
From that point of view, the whole association thing and prisoners being out, jobs got done. Yeah, it might be half the wing do jobs and half don't, but they get done.
They got done.
I think a lot of the frustrations now are going to come from the fact there's no dynamic security staff prison relationships, and your chances of getting something sorted from behind your door, because this is a thing I thought about the other day. It's something to nothing. Yeah, emergency cell bell, that's what we called it, didn't we? So every prison cell in the system has a buzzer, right? Emergency cell bell, you can press it to alert staff. Somewhere that will ring. Yeah, the amount of staff, they go up to the door face to face, what's the emergency? Now for me, if someone says, boss, can I have a toilet roll, and they haven't got one, they need to go to the toilet, I'm going to get my toilet roll. Could you check this or something else, like you say, something they're worrying about? But I fear now, I know this, because again, people are telling me, cell bell, they just turned off.
They're just
Stay off your bell.
Yeah.
What's the emergency? That's not an emergency or whatever. And what it's doing this, it's just going to create frustration, isn't it?
It is, but I'll have to interject there on the cell bell business.
You can interject.
Yeah. right. I get 100% what you're saying about the cell bell.
Yeah.
But I was temporary promoted, believe it or not, for 3 years. 3 years temporary promotion.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question before I let you interject.
Go on.
Why were you temporary promoted? Why, if you did a job for 3 years, why didn't they give you a permanent?
Because I wasn't JSAC accredited.
That is the prison service shitty system for giving promotion.
It is.
He's done the job 3 years. You know what? Give him a pip.
Exactly.
He's an SO. He's done it.
My governor said he would if he could, but I had to do the JSAC. I passed the JSAC, and I'd already transferred out of that jail.
It's bullshit,
and I got my results after I'd transferred out. But anyway, when I was senior officer on A-Wing at Everthorpe, they were running us ragged. Absolutely running us ragged. Cell prisoners for soon as they're banged up. No sooner as they're banged up, cell bell on. Boss, what time is it? Now come on, kid, you know what time it is. You know it's 5 o'clock, we've just locked up, tea time, you know that. Some would press it for the fun of it. A lot of them would press it because they knew they were messing us about, because we get up there and it was a stupid reason for pressing the cell bell.
Yep.
And the staff on there were saying, "Look, Chris, we've had enough of this. It's running us down." And if they were pressing them for genuine things, we none of us would say, "No, that's not an emergency." So I said, "Right, we can nip this in the bud." And on the prisoner forums, because we used to have little forum meetings with them, I'd chair it.
Yeah.
And I'd have a couple of officers.
Well, like a wing meeting.
Yeah, a wing meeting. And I'd have a couple of the wing reps, and then I would always invite a couple of other lads who aren't on the wing committee, as it were, for the prisoners.
Yep.
So I got a cross section of the wing in this meeting, and I said to them, these cell bells, lads, they've got to stop because they're for emergencies only. I said, now let me just explain. While you're ringing your cell bell on the Threes landing, and for example, the night officer has got to come all the way up to the other end of the Threes landing to get there for you to say, what time is it, please, boss?
Yeah, that is taking the piss.
There's another bell going downstairs, and while he's explaining to you that this isn't an emergency, please have a bit of thought for others, there's somebody downstairs pressed his bell because he's bleeding to death, or his cellmates have, well, they had single cells, but for example, a cellmate could be fitting.
Yep.
So then another bell comes on, another one might come on the same landing, so when he's on his way down to answer the one that's come on the ones, he's got another one. Can I have a nap, please, boss? An application? Well, no, because you're meant to get them in the morning.
Yeah, that is taking a piss, mate.
So by the time he gets down there, this kid may be dead. You know, and I said, what we're going to do, we're going to introduce on the IEP warnings. I said, and I actually had them pre-written out.
That's prison punishment,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. So I put these pre-written warnings in the office, and I said to the staff, when you go up to answer these cell bells, if it's something ridiculous like what time is it, or have we got gym today, or is there chapel today, questions that they already know the answers for, give them a written warning.
Yep.
Straight away. And you know what? The staff were I'll get that. As soon as the cell bell come on, let me get that one. And they already had the one.
Yep.
I said, no, calm down. It might be a real... Yeah, no. But if it isn't, I want to give them the warning.
Yep.
And you know what? It cut them out almost overnight. And the night staff even put a note in the observation book thanking whoever it was that introduced these warnings, because the cell bells have cut out to 0.
Yeah, well, that is a good thing.
Yeah. But like you said, there are times when they've been banged up. You know, they might have been banged up all weekend because of staffing. They haven't had a chance to come out and get things. So
that's the problem, isn't it? That is the only way.
Exactly. So you have to use your you use your common sense and think, well, these lads haven't been out today, so they haven't had a chance to nip and get a toilet roll. They might have been on a controlled unlock for security reasons, you know, and they haven't had a chance to nip to the office to get a toilet roll because they've been ushered along by the staff. Come on, let's have you behind your doors, we need to get the rest of the wing served. So you have to use your judgment, but they were taking a piss with those cell bells, and it cut them out overnight. And that to me gave the staff the time to do other things like process applications.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse. You get sat doing something, a cell bell.
At that time, everything was by application.
Exactly. I don't know what it is now. I'm not.
A lot of stuff's done on Unilink if they can get out to go on it.
Yeah.
Which is like a computer system. So where you used to have to put a paper app in to see a doctor, a dentist, or whatever.
That's right. It's all the ATMs
go on
now, isn't it?
And they won't give you an appointment.
But like you say, you've got to get out to do that.
You talk more than me.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Right. So, like I said, that's your introduction to Chris. How long were you at Hull?
I was at Hull from 1993 to 2005.
Was that enjoyable 12 years of service?
The first, I'll be honest with you, I went there from Wandsworth, as I said.
I want honesty from you.
Yeah, you're going to get honesty. I got there from Wandsworth in September 93, and I wished I'd never gone there.
Yep.
And I say, because of the staffing, the way the prisoners spoke to some staff. I mean, my first day on there, we shouted, you know, come on lads, time for bang up. I went up to this one lad, and over the years I've locked him up dozens and dozens of times. He's one of these, always in and out, in and out.
Yep.
Shane, they called him. And at this point, I didn't know him. I said, come on then fella, it's time to bang up. Fuck off, no screw tells me what to do. I said, excuse me. I said, everyone's going away. I'm a fucking cleaner, fucking do one. I thought, this didn't happen at Wandsworth. They didn't answer you back. And I went to their cell and I said, who's that out there? Ah, that's Shane, leave him, he's a cleaner, he can stay out.
Well, there you go, you see.
Exactly, but you'd said, bang everyone up.
Yeah.
I said, I need to know. So is it bang everyone up, leave cleaners out? Oh, no, leave the cleaners out. So he then had one over on me, you see, because I'd tried banging him up. Oh, and I thought, why have I come here? Why? At Wandsworth, we used to, when we would serve the meals, we'd unlock them and we'd lock their door back up straight away when they were out. So when they came up with their meal tray, they had to wait outside that door to get in.
Yep.
So as soon as you unlocked the door, they walked in, you locked it back up.
Very similar at Strangeways on K-Wing. You'd stay at the door because you had enough staff.
Yeah.
So as soon as they come back, you'd lock them in.
Yeah, because
and move on to the next.
They're running ragged.
Yeah, it's dinner time, isn't it? The idea is to get meals, get behind the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your roll check in.
And I tried that. What are you doing that? What are you locking my door for, boss? I said, well, because, you know, when you come back, you've got to then hang about and wait for me to unlock your door. Well, I might want to run around and get a smoke and things. I said, you've had all morning on association for that.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm not being difficult, but it's time to go behind your door now. So I did. I found it hard to transition from Wandsworth, which was absolute.
Is that pointless association?
Yeah.
We won't go there yet.
So yeah, I wished I hadn't gone, and there was a note in the gate lodge that Wandsworth were looking for staff. I'd only been at Hull a couple of weeks. They'd let too many go. I was very, very tempted to go back, but being a young lad, I was 22 by this time. I wasn't going back down to London. I thought I'm just going to have to suck it up and get on with it here. Once I got into it, Sea-Wing, it was commonly known as Beirut back in the early 90s.
In everyone's wing known as Beirut.
Oh, this genuinely was. I'll tell you, you'd go around unlocking. You got your unlock list for work in the morning, and you go to it first. So, go on, Smithy, education, fuck off. Next pad, Jonesy, come on mate, it's work time, bollocks, not going. And you go round and you get to the end of the landing, the door beyond the railings. Yeah, come on lads, it's work. And there was nothing done to me if they didn't go.
But did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good, because there was a lot of, there was a lot of tense moments, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of frustrating moments, because the governors wouldn't back us up and say, right, well, if they're not going to work, they lose the tellies, or, tellies only just got introduced, I believe, 94.
Do you think that was a good thing?
No, absolutely not. No. Interestingly, when TVs were introduced at Hull, I'm not saying it's the cause of it, but it was just a little bit of irony. The first year that TVs were introduced, suicide doubled at Hull from 0 to 2.
Really?
Now, I know it's only 2, but 2's too many.
Well, yeah, of course.
But it was a bit ironic that these TVs were supposed to be brought in to help and to, but the previous year, no suicides. First year of TVs, 2. And I said to my senior officer at the time, I said, a bit ironic this, isn't it? So I'm not blaming TVs, but they were brought in for a reason, and in my opinion, they didn't really work. And they're certainly not working now, because there isn't that thing we can take your telly off you now, because they're all banged up. The last thing they're going to do is take the tellies off them.
I don't think TVs or PlayStations or anything makes a difference.
No,
now.
It doesn't.
I think that many are using drugs, i.e. spice.
Yeah.
Because they're banged up all day. It's not going to alleviate the boredom, is it?
Let's say, when you say, did we enjoy it? Did I enjoy it? When much later on, we'd move wings, and we'd all be, I'd be working with some staff who I'd worked with on Sea-Wing, and we'd joke about it and say, when we were on there, we said there was no stress on there. It was great, we didn't feel. But I tell you what, we all laughed and said, it was stressful every day, every single day. When you've got 200 odd prisoners milling about all day, and because they had no toilets, they'd just got toilets in cells.
Yeah.
But because it was in a double cell, the governor said if one rings his cell bell and wants to use the recess rather than using the toilet in front of his cellmate, you got to let him go.
How rude! Somebody started a bloody lawnmower or something up.
And then we had the library on the end of Sea-Wing at Hull. If they want to use the library, you've got to let them. So basically, it was a free-for-all.
Yeah.
There was no control, there was no order, there was no regime as such. So yeah, it was challenging. Let me say that, it was challenging. But we look back, some of us now, if I ever speak to any of them, I say, what was Sea-Wing like back in 93, 94? We do, we laugh and say, horrendous days, but we got through it.
Right. I'm going to move you swiftly on.
Go on.
We will be visiting Chris again. That's not really an option, mate. Tell me about the special unit at Hull, why it came about, or why they have these special units in certain prisons throughout the UK. Okay.
When I first got to Hull, I did my first 2 weeks training there.
Was the unit there when you got there?
Yes, it was. And we was only allowed on there for 20 minutes going around with our little notebooks.
Explain size of it, the layout.
It was 3 landings. It was only 3 landings. No, sorry, 4 landings, but only 3 were used.
Yep.
The one's landing was where they had their own kitchen, gym,
Yep.
woodwork
Yep.
class, art class, library,
Yep.
2 TV rooms. They had a big fish tank. It was all self-contained.
Yep.
That was all on the ones.
Yep.
The 2's landing was just your wing officers. You had your PO's office on one side, your senior officers on the other. Then you had a little store cupboard for all your toiletries and things a bit further down the landing.
Yep.
The 3's landing was the cells. There's only 10 cells on there.
Okay.
And we only ever had, from what I can recall, I think we had 7 was the most prisoners we had on there.
What was the unit designed for?
It was designed for, it was called a CRC unit back then, Control Review Committee.
Yep.
And if you had a particularly bad prisoner that was always kicking off, assaulting staff, disrupting regimes, simply wouldn't conform to prison, your prison could refer them to the Control Review Committee.
Is that like the challenging behaviour type thing that come along later?
I don't know, because I didn't come across that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Why would you have a unit like that as opposed to a segregation unit?
Well, the idea was they come to the unit, they get referred. The review committee sit there. They have representatives from Hull, and they had one at Parkhurst at the time. They discuss this individual and say, well, I'm prepared to take this fella. I'll have him at Hull. So the governor would agree to take him at Hull. And the idea was, you get them on this unit straight away. They're not treated like one of 100. It's first name terms.
Yep.
I always call prisoners by their first names if I knew the first names.
Yep.
But on the unit, it was first name terms. Yep. And I allowed them, if they wanted to call me Chris,
yep,
it was allowed. It was about breaking barriers down and making them realise, look, prison isn't that bad, insofar as you don't have to be kicking off all the time. The staff aren't all animals, they're not all arseholes. Staff do care, staff will listen. So it was a case of working with them, and the idea was to reintegrate them back into the mainstream.
I'll play devil's advocate a bit, even though our views are the same, right? So I'm going to say to you, right, you've got someone who's kicking off, being disruptive, yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to refer them to a programme and to a unit where they can cook their own food.
Yeah.
They've got art class, woodwork, gym, TV rooms. There's not many of them. It's first name terms. Why are you giving somebody that who is being disruptive? Would that not encourage other people to be disruptive?
Yeah, it does, and I can give you a very, very good example. When I was on Sea Wing, which was just a normal
Beirut.
When I was working on Beirut, I had a young lad. I won't give you his second name. He's called Jason. He come up to me and he said, "Boss." He says, "I'm going on that unit." I said, "Jason, it don't work like that, fella. It don't work. I'm telling you, I will be on that unit one day." I said, "No, I'm sorry." I said, "No disrespect, young man, but you're not of the same ilk as those on that unit.
Not of that calibre."
No. So he said, "Mark my words." Fast forward 3 years, I'm now working on the unit. It's now not the Control Review Committee. It was the SUSC Committee, Special Unit Selection Committee.
Yep.
And I was invited by the wing governor to go to one of these meetings, and it was held at Full Sutton. And we was in this boardroom having this special unit selection committee where...
Can I ask, is that just for Hull, or is that all
that was for all the units.
Have you had an idea how many there were in different prisons?
What units?
Yeah.
There was certainly one at Parkhurst which closed because we took all their prisoners on.
Yep.
We had the SSU, the Special Secure Unit at Full Sutton, which was a totally different animal altogether.
Is that different to the Franklin, I always get this wrong, dangerous personality and disorder unit?
No, that SSU was for your IRA and your high risk, very exceptional risk Cat A's.
Right, okay.
You know, and they had a unit at Woodhill, but theirs was a 3-tier system at Woodhill, and I believe that unit's still running. And I believe Durham opened one. But at the time, Hull was the premier one, if you like.
Why did they select Hull? Was there any special reason, or?
I don't know, because it was there before I joined. So, and I'll be honest, I don't know why Hull was selected. I really don't know. But it's been on the go certainly since the 80s. I mean, it's closed now. It's gone now. Charlie Bronson put paid to that.
Yep.
But no, I sat on this meeting, and the reason the governor asked me to go was because I'd mentioned this young Jason off Sea Wing.
Yep.
He came up as a referral because he'd moved on from Hull and he'd gone out of his way to be disruptive.
Do you know, was he doing a long sentence?
About 9 years, I think. But he was he was only like a YO type. He wasn't a YO, but he acted like one.
A young offender.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I mean, I'm just assuming.
No, it's fine.
I'm just
It's
assuming
fine,
that everybody knows what. Yeah.
I'll educate the audience.
Yeah.
You entertain them.
Yeah. So I was asked to go because this young lad had come up on the referrals.
Yep.
So I said my piece. I explained that when he was at Hull on Sea Wing, he openly told me he would be on one of these units one day. His case was dismissed. He was not coming on a unit because my input was such that he'd manipulated his way to get on a unit.
Yep.
Now, on the other hand, you've got people like Alan Lord, who was one of the Strangeways rioters.
Yep.
People like him needed to be withdrawn from mainstream, and we had to work with them.
Why would Alan Lord have to be? What was it about him that you feel, or the system felt, that he had to withdraw from general population, shall we say, and put on? Because obviously, there's not a lot of spaces, is there?
No.
You know, you look at the prison population. Then let's say it was 70,000-80,000, and you've got how many spaces?
We had a maximum of 10, but we never had 10 on there. I never remember it.
So, what is it about somebody? Let's take Alan Lord. That
I think, if you think about it, their reputation goes well before them, and I think when you've got someone like Alan Lord kicking off in prisons, creating all sorts of problems for staff, it's trying to break that mould. It's trying to break that mould and get them to see that, and it worked for him because I believe he worked his way back through the system to Cat D. He's now out and doing really well for himself.
Yeah. Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Do you think the prison system, as it were, creates people like Alan Lord?
I believe it did.
Do you want to expand on that? And you know where I'm coming from. So from your point of view, you know, obviously there was the riot at Strangeways. He was marked down as one of the leaders. He was on the roof. I don't believe ever, I'm sure an interview I saw with him, ever on camera, the media at the time, he was seen throwing anything.
No, he wasn't. He wrote some signs, didn't he? And he was... Yeah. I think what a lot of theirs came down to at Strangers was the slopping out, which, you know, they've had in-cell toilets.
Explain that again, because people, you know, how long have we had toilets in houses?
Oh, wow.
In houses?
Oh, in houses. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, but in prisons, obviously, he had a bucket.
Yeah.
He had a bucket, and that was it. And if there was, when I was at Wandsworth, there was just some like dorm cells with 4 of them in it. That's not good. And I think the conditions created a lot of problems back in the. I mean, I only joined in '92, but certainly in the '80s. Do
you think the violence? Obviously, there were very violent places.
Oh yeah.
You know, treating people like caged animals.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that you kick a dog so many times it's going to bite back. Now I come across a lot on that unit, especially Alan Lord, that was saying about being brutalised in prison, racial stuff. I'm not going to say it didn't happen, because I know things do happen. I will be honest, I've never witnessed racism, because if I had, I'd have challenged it.
You see, I said that. I said it in my book, and somebody said, sort of went, oh, obviously you didn't see any racism.
I didn't.
People will have known what sort of person you were, won't they?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you've got a prison officer who, you know, has no integrity or whatever, they do look round them, they do pick their audience, and they're not going to say anything in front of you, are you?
Exactly.
That is a fact.
It is a fact. I would have challenged it, and But I've never seen racism. We also had another kid on there, Kenny Carter. He wasn't on there when I worked on there, but I used to do an odd couple of shifts on there when they were short, when I was working on Sea Wing, and he was on there then, and he was always campaigning for prisoners' rights and conditions. So I believe the system back in the pre-90s, certainly pre-90s, was with the slopping out, lots of bang up, and I think to a degree the prison officer culture back then certainly didn't help. And you can see why some prisoners kick off and want better conditions. They don't want treating like shit, basically, from the prison staff. They're not there to be treated like shit. Although I have in the past, if they've treated me like utter shit and disrupted me, threatened me, as you will have done.
What
you have to.
You have to have
adapt.
a line, don't you?
Yeah,
because...
you have, and you have to get. Once they overstep that line, then I'm sorry, I overstepped that line. But I've never done anything illegal. I've never laid hands on a prisoner when it's not been official, on, you know, the controlling restraints. Never. And I've never been assaulted in all my almost 25 years, and that speaks volumes because I know how to talk to prisoners.
Correct.
And
hold on, I've been assaulted.
Yeah, but
however, you know, again, it's the situation. It's the people you're working with. You know, the private sector was chaotic, and obviously, you know, you're like on your own and stuff like that. So it's a very different job, but I know what you're saying. And
we also had, and obviously they're not in the job anymore, but I won't tell you who they are. But obviously, when I got to Hull, I used to go to the pub every lunchtime. I'd make no mistake, no argument with that. I admit it, I went every lunchtime. But some staff went before I got there, and just after I'd got there, there was some staff that used to go and get right tanked up and come back with a bit of an attitude. Now that doesn't help. They smell it on your breath and get an attitude. Now I will say they were very, very rare, very isolated cases, because I'm still in touch with 2 or 3 lads who used to go to the pub every day, but we didn't go back with an attitude. But there was one in particular who caused problems every time he came back from the pub. And I think going back to certainly pre-90s, into the 70s, 80s, prison clubs were still around. Which didn't help.
Pubs. You were a pub on site.
Exactly. So you could go for your lunch there. And I've heard stories that staff used to nip out, cover me with you for an hour or so, and they'd nip out during the afternoon. Which, and no wonder they got rid of the clubs, because I don't think there's any now. Wandsworth had one when I was there. Brixton had one when I was at Brixton, but I believe they've all gone now. And I think in some respects that's a good thing. There are pubs still that you can go to, which you'll never stop. But getting rid of them clubs, I think, was probably a good thing.
See, a lot of people from back in the day, I hate saying that.
I know, I
anyway,
do, but...
You know, they talk about it like starry-eyed, and I'd be there thinking, you're going to pub, you're getting pissed, you're fighting each other, you're having affairs, sleeping with each other, and then you're coming back into the prison and you know, pissed up in a job that, you know, you need a
responsible
certain
role.
You know, for me, that is not a disciplined.
It's a conflict, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's
a conflict. I mean, I'll admit, when I went through divorce in the year 2000, and I'd make no mistake about it, and no bones about it. I'd go to the pub and have 4 pints on a lunchtime. Wasn't pissed, but that was my escapism, because I had no life at home. I'd split up with my wife, and that was my bit of dealing with. I not turned to drink as such, but I was drinking a lot more than I ever did. And when I fell into that culture of popping down, we used to call it church, going to church, pop down to a pub at lunchtime. Oh, are we allowed? What do you mean are we allowed? They can't stop us. And I fell into that culture, but never went back pissed, never went back with an attitude. Always had a packet of mints, so I was never breathing beer all over. Not that I had enough to... And not once did I ever get a complaint. You've been to the pub, boss. It's out of order. Not once, because I was able to control it. But I'm sorry, but it was a culture. It was a culture, certainly in the 80s and before.
I know you're trying to get away from them. I'm going to take you back to the unit. So Alan Lord and this unit, you said that you did see a change in that lad. So explain.
Well, when I first got on there, my very first shift, I'm down on the Wands Landing.
Oh, in fact, before we do that,
yeah.
why did? Because we have talked about this a little bit before, only about going on the unit, and you said someone you knew said don't do it, Chris, because you're just going to walk off there every day stressed.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you're going to ask, aren't you? You didn't quite ask the question, but you're going to ask why. Why did I want to go on there? Why did I go on there?
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
Go on then.
Honestly, I was seeing staff walk into the jail with their own snooker cues who worked on the unit.
Okay.
There was a full-size snooker table on there.
Yeah.
There was table tennis on there.
Yeah. And
at the time, stress levels on C-Wing I thought were a bit much.
Beirut.
Yeah. And I thought, that sounds all right. At the time, I think they only had 5 prisoners on there, Alan Lord being one of them.
Yep.
And it was like a big staff youth club. And I'll tell you why it was. The prisoners didn't talk to us. They didn't want to know. And there was nobody there forcing the issue. They're there for a reason.
Yep.
To challenge their behaviours in prison. We're there offering them that olive branch, talk to us, interact with us. We're not big bad bastards that you've come across in the dispersal system, or some that you've come across in the dispersal system. We're allowing you to cook your own food.
Yep.
There's a snooker table here and a table tennis. Come and have a game with us. Yep. They weren't interested.
Like the Cat A unit, Strangeways.
They just didn't want to know.
Very small unit. When I went on there, the staff had talked to you because there were plenty of staff. Very little interaction from prisoners. If you weren't on that unit, they're definitely not talking to you. And the people they would talk to was a member of staff that day that was doing the list for Jim. You know, that sort of thing. So you're putting them on there to treat people, well, like human beings or whatever. You're giving them facilities. You know, it's not like no normal prison wing, but they're not talking to you anyway. So how did that change or affect their behaviour? Well, or was it the fact that you were giving them?
I think, well, I'll just go back to my first day on there with Alan Lord. It was quite. I look back now and I can chuckle about it, but I'll be honest with you, I was a bit worried. And he come.
What do you mean a bit worried?
Well, he come down the stairs. He realised there was 2 new officers on there.
Yep.
And he saw me on the Wands Landing, and I got down there, and there was already a note on the notice board just behind us, above the chairs where we were sat, and it said, "Male screws don't talk to me, and I don't talk to yous. Females only." And he come down the stairs, mouthing off something rotten. Something had upset him, and he looked at me. He said, "And you fucking better get used to this, because this is how it's going to fucking be. Do you understand?" And I looked round at Dave, who'd been on there a while. We sat there with our coffee, and I'm thinking, shit, what have I let myself in for? He said, don't worry. He knows you knew. He's got to try and make his mark and try and unsettle you. Just ignore it. He'll never do anything to you. He's just... But at that time, he was only speaking to one female officer on there.
Yep.
And not for 1 minute was I suggesting there was anything going on, because there wasn't. She was a happily married woman. She was a very nice woman. But I think he could relate to her and open up to her with some of his issues more. I mean, I'm the same. You got to another bloke talking about some personal issues, you feel a bit uncomfortable about it.
Yep.
When you've got a friendly female voice the other side there, who's more sympathetic.
Yep.
And I think that's what it was. But he made a point of letting us know he'll only talk to her.
Yep.
So Dave says to me, don't worry, just ignore him, he's fine. Then he went up the stairs, he came back down, went into the gym, pounded his music out, come out, went for his shower. But then he still never spoke to us, unless he wanted something, which, like you've just said, on the Cat A unit, if they wanted something, they had to. They can't magic that out.
They usually ask to see the SO.
Yeah.
So they bypass the officers.
Well, that goes in all prisoners, doesn't it? And when I was senior officer, I used to. No. You don't come to me. Go to your landing staff.
Exactly. And if they can't sort it, then come to me. Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, he'd come down. We had a punch bag on there. He'd bring his stereo down. And now, bearing in mind where we're sat now, probably where that car is where the punch bag was. It was hung under the stairs.
Yeah.
And he'd put his music on full blast, literally full blast. and he'd have a few rounds on the punch bag, then he'd walk off and leave his music playing. And I think that was all posturing, as if to say, look what I can do, and you're not doing anything about it. But
did you learn from the experienced staff who've been on there? Because you're out your comfort zone. On a wing,
yeah,
you said when you first landed at all, you thought, what have I let myself in for? But very soon, you'd have got used to the routine. You got used to being on Sea Wing Beirut, wouldn't you? Now again, are you looking, even though you're an experienced officer, to the staff on there to see how you react? Because your first thought would be, turn your music down.
What do I? On the normal wing, I'd go.
But also, because he's a big lad and that, you know, we're not all Billy 10 men. You'll be thinking,
how do I handle this?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Steve, my mate Steve, he stood up and he just went and turned it off. And Alan came down, who the fucking hell's turned that off? And Steve said, I have, Alan. It's a bit loud. Don't mind you playing your music, but at least be here while your music's on.
Yep.
Fucking out of order. And he put it back on again. But then he was on the punch bag, which to a degree, even though it was a bit loud, Steve had made his point as if to say, don't walk away and leave your music playing right next to us, please. You know, it's not right. But then he'd come down in the morning, and if he was the cleaning officer who's in charge of going to get all your cleaning materials, getting the food from the kitchen for them, the cleaning officer, the first thing he'd do is come downstairs, unlock the cabinet and get the gym keys out, because all the weights, everything in the gym was padlocked.
Yep.
And he'd just leave them on a windowsill. Well, when I got the keys for the...
Really?
Yeah, only padlock keys.
So they could get in and use them?
Yeah, so we'd unlock the gym.
There's a lot of trust on this unit, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, yeah. So he would then put a curtain up, because where we're playing table tennis, he didn't want us seeing him training. But our PO said to us, no, that doesn't happen. You go in and you take that curtain down.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, so we did. He'd put it back up again, and you'd go in, you'd have an argument with him, and I'll be honest, as big as he was, I never ever expected him to lash out or hurt one of us, because I looked at it and thought, you've got it good on here. The last thing you're going to want to do is push it too far.
End up in the segregation and lose everything.
And lose everything. So to a degree, that also made me think, you can stand up to these guys. There might be the worst the system's got to throw at you, or some of the worst.
I'm glad you're telling it as it is, Chris, because, you know, we're not all Billy 10 men.
No, I never have been.
We're not all going to front people.
No, I never have. You know, you've got... I believe to be a good prison officer, you got to have a mix of everything. We talked earlier about wearing all them different hats during the day. That's missing in the job today. But I learnt from that the fact that Steve went and turned his music off. But then I also noticed he's treating us like he is, and he's coming down and his keys are already out. Well, I was cleaning officer one morning, and he come down. He looked on the little ledge, and he just shouts, "Keys!" And I went...
Had you purposely not put the keys there?
Yeah, he had, yeah. Because I thought to myself, I'm going to make him ask me for these keys. I'm only a little... Oh, I've got a belly on me, but I'm only a little guy. I'm not a fighter. I'm not hard.
Cuddly.
Cuddly,
Cuddly.
Yeah. I'm not hard. Never have been. You don't need to be hard to be a prison officer.
No, you don't.
You just have to stand your ground. You have to be firm, but fair. And I thought, no, I'm going to make him ask me for these keys. He's not just going to come down and they're there on a plate for him. He said, "Keys!" And off he went back upstairs. He come down with his milk and his eggs for his protein for his gym. He went in the gym. He come back out. I said, "Where's the fucking keys?" And I went, "What's up?" I said, "Was there something else on the end up? Where's the keys, please?" I said, "Thank you." And I went up. And it wasn't about being hard. It was about, I didn't want him taking the piss out of me. It did a little bit, because I went and got the keys, put them on the ledge where they normally were, and he come out, "Where's the..." I said, "They're on there, Alan. Thank you." And then another incident, and if you ever watch this, Alan, you probably remember it. I had a mug, the band Thunder. I don't know if you've heard of the band Thunder.
Yeah, of course I have.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an head banger at heart.
I had this mug.
Obviously with the hair like this.
Made the mistake of taking it to work. Now, personal mugs, it was like a no-no. Don't ever use anyone else's personal mug. But somebody clearly used it and left it out on the landing.
Yeah, because the other thing is, because it might not be obvious to people, mugs are pot. Obviously, prison cups are
they were
plastic.
allowed pot. They were,
well, lifers used to be able to have their own mug.
Yeah.
I think they had them on the Cat A unit. But not every prisoner had a pot mug,
No,
did
they didn't. We took them off them on normal location.
Yeah, exactly.
If they found one, you took it. But anyway, my mug went missing. Where's my mug? And down comes Alan with my mug in his hand. And I went and followed him into the kitchen. I said, hey, that's my mug. He went, no, it's not. I said, Alan, come on, that's my mug. Can I have it back, please? He went, well, it's mine. I said, well, what does thunder mean then? He went, well, thunder light. I said, no, you're wrong, Alan. I said, it's a rock band. I said, my wife bought me that. Can I have it back, please? Anyway, he said no, and then a couple of the other lads said, oh, come on, Gov, it's only a mug. I said, it might only be a mug, but it's my mug. I bought it.
Yeah.
Well, my wife bought it for me. It's my mug. Anyway, I went up to the PO and I said, look, how do you want me to do this? I said, because we have to, in some respect, treat them with kid gloves. I mean,
people don't understand that. The thing is, isn't it, there's some people you could say, Smithy, get behind your effing door now. Somebody else, if you said, Smithy, get behind your effing door now, you're going to be fighting.
Exactly.
You know, it's not.
Yeah.
You have to look, and sometimes, you know, just back off a little for the sake of keeping the peace, don't you?
And that's what I thought. It is only a mug, although it annoyed me that someone had left it out and he'd managed to get his hands on it. So I went up to the PO, Colin. I said, might only be petty to you, but Alan Lord's got my mug. I said, how do you want me to play it? I said, because I want it back, clearly. And he said, well, not a lot of you know this, but he's looking at getting shipped out today. They're coming to pick him up this afternoon, and when he's gone, you can just go in and take your mug back. He said, so I'd ask you just leave it like that.
So, did he obviously, again, playing devil's advocate, he's just saying, look, just keep the peace.
Yeah, keep the peace for now, because he's going this afternoon, then you can just go and take your mug back. Anyway, we had the little unlock brief in the afternoon. He said, right, just to let you all know, guys, Alan Lord's not going now. They've decided they're going to leave him on here. I said, what about my mug? He goes, fucking hell, Chris, that fucking mug. He said, just go take your fucking mug. Just go get it. So you're happy for me to just... Yeah, I am. And you're happy to take whatever comes... I am. Just go get your fucking mug, he said. Let's have the end of it. So I went down again and said, come on, Alan. I said, that mug. I said, I need it back, mate. I said, it is mine. I said, it's not yours. He said, well, it is mine. I said, well, if it's yours, Alan, it'll be on your prop card. So we'll go up to the property room.
Again, explain that.
Property card, all prisoners' property, personal property, store property, it's all logged on a property card. It's signed for to say, yes, I've got in my possession 1 stereo, 2 pairs of jeans, 6 t-shirts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I said, if that mug is yours, it will be on your property card.
How did you feel having to play this game?
I felt a little bit like I was more or less bowing down to him.
Yep.
But I wanted my mug back. Anyway, I said, so it'll be on your prop card. I said, we'll nip up there, shall we, and have a look. He went, here, have your mug. And as I went to grab it, I thought he was going to smash it, but he didn't. He just gave me it. I said, thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. And off I walked. And that just showed me, it gave me a little bit more of an insight that these fellas might be big, imposing figures, and they've done some horrendous things around the system. But he had a bit of humility about him to think, right, it is his mug, he can have it back.
We're looking at it from your point of view, yeah? You know, taking a step back, not being inflammatory, you know, doing things how people might not think you should be doing them. Do you think amongst these lads there is that sort of pressure to, you know, not engage with staff, stand your point, talk to, you know, they're trying to project?
I think there was, and I can give you a really, really good example. I mean, I got on famously with him, was Frank Burley from from Leeds. When he arrived on that unit, he ran that unit. He ran it amongst the prisoners.
Who was he?
He was I believe he was in for armed robbery from Leeds. He was doing, I think, 9 years or something. But he was hard. He was a fighter.
Did his reputation precede
it? Definitely, and obviously that's why he came on the unit, because he couldn't be dealt with in mainstream.
Yep.
He landed and he was some kind of celebrity amongst the prisoners.
Yep.
He ran how it went, but I'll tell you what he did do. He saw the snooker table. He engaged with staff. We started playing doubles, him and another lad from London, a prisoner, against the staff.
At that point, were you not playing?
No, as I said, they didn't talk to us. But when he came on, he changed the whole dynamic.
Right, okay.
Because he had a bit of pull. And he if any of them sort of mouthed off, he would pull them to one side and they'd come back and that'll be it, be all done with.
So I'm thinking this tough lad, arm robber, is thinking,
it's good on
this
here.
is a good thing.
Yeah, it's
There's a snooker table, so if it's there, I'm going to play.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, if I have to talk to
Screws,
Cuddly Chris,
Cuddly
Chris. If I talk to Cuddly Chris, I'm going to talk to Chris and I'm going to play snooker with Chris.
Yeah, and he did. And we had doubles going. We had, you know, it was quite.
Did that change the dynamics of that
whole
unit?
dynamic changed tremendously, and I know there's going to be potentially lots of prison officers watching this when it goes out who are going to be thinking, "Oh wow, oh that's nice, playing snooker with prisoners." But they all have to ask themselves, why did they join the job? We joined the job to try and make a difference with some of these lads that get locked up, whether they're prolific armed robbers, prolific rapists, child molesters. As much as we didn't like working with those, our job was to try and make a difference and rehabilitate them in any way we could. Now, also, you mention it a lot, is the dynamic security.
Yep.
By playing snooker with them,
Yep.
you get to hear little tiny tidbits that you think, well, he wouldn't have normally said that.
Yep.
But what did he just say there? And you do get to find little bits out, and then you get into conversations with them and you get to know a bit more about them. So when you get to know a bit more about them, there's more of a rapport there. Oh, you're from Leeds, are you, Frank? Yeah, from Leeds. Oh, we had a kid on Sea Wing from Leeds, right, big time sort of. I know him. He's from my area. He's nothing, Gov. He's just all mouth. You get these conversations. You find all sorts of bits and it's quite interesting sometimes to talk to them.
I've told you before. For me, chatting, talking to people, you know, banter, interactions, whatever you're doing, for me was a decent part of the job.
Oh, it was.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy speaking to people. I don't know, you tell me what I did find, particularly on healthcare, and it was usually the orderlies. The orderlies, we had some handy lads. Yeah, we had some big time names, people who are well known. Yeah, well known in the community, big criminals in Salford, Manchester, wherever they're from. They would, you know, you get to know, you'd have a professional work, and they would tell you things that I won't repeat, you know, and you know, I find it fascinating, even though I was doing the job, sort of living a little bit of their life.
Yeah. I mean, I read true crime. Some people say that's a bit sad, but I do find it interesting. It intrigues me.
Of course it does.
It does, and I didn't do that job all them years, and I've come across a lot of people who I've read about, famous and infamous, if you like, and I enjoy reading about true crime because it's that fascination. It's a morbid fascination.
Yeah.
But yeah, he changed the whole dynamic.
How long did you work on that unit?
Oh, about 2.5 years.
How long was that lad on there?
Well, he was on there maybe 1.5 years until another one turned up, and the dynamic changed again.
Right. Did you work on there? Is 2.5 years in that environment enough?
Definitely.
What I mean by that is, you know, it could be pretty tense or whatever. It's the sort of place where 2.5 years,
Move
and then
on. Yeah, well, my senior officer on Sea Wing, Colin, bless him, he's a nice bloke. He said to me, Chris, look, trust me, you don't want to go on that unit. I went, why not? He said, I'm telling you now, it's like treading on eggshells from the moment you unlock to the minute you lock up. I said, well, why? Because it can go any minute. Any minute, it can. You just have to say the wrong thing and it can just go. Fortunately, it never while I was working on there. But I felt what he meant.
what was the staffing ratio?
We had 8 officers on there.
So if you had 5 prisoners, you had 8 officers?
Yeah, it was always 8 officers, a PO and an SO, sometimes 2 SOs.
Best odds you're ever going to get anywhere?
Sorry?
The best odds you're ever going to get
definitely,
on it.
definitely.
You know, prisoner staff.
And Frank did kick off one morning over some stamps that got sent in.
Yep.
A book of first class stamps.
Yep.
Frank, the guy that was doing the censoring said, Frank, you can't have these. It's too many. He said you can have them on envelopes, you know, you can send them in on pre-stamped envelopes,
Yep.
but you can't have a book of first class stamps.
Yep.
And he went up onto the phone, and the job I never got to do, and I'm really pleased I didn't have to do, we actually monitored their phone calls actually on the unit.
Yeah, like
in a back
Cat A's
off.
again.
Yeah, they knew we did.
Yeah, of course they did.
And if you sat in there with a set of headphones on, you can see on a monitor the number they're dialing. If it's not on their log of approved numbers, you just cut the call off.
Yeah.
And you'd hear them go, bastard. They try another one.
Yep.
Cut the call. Because they're not allowed. There's reasons, security reasons, they can't ring certain numbers.
Of course there is.
Well, Frank was up there talking about these fucking wankers, took them fucking stamps off me. And then he tried ringing another number. And Rob Nicholson, he's still in the job now, but he's a great officer. Cut the call. Frank go, fucking wanker. Tried it again. Cut it again. Tried it a third time. Cut it again. Doing his job. And then Frank comes steaming down the Threes landing. Where's that fucking wanker? And Rob come out the office. He went, that fucking wanker's right here. Oh, the office was full. It flooded all the prisoners off the wing. They all ran up there. Senior officer in the corner waving the wing compact at him. Frank, it says here, he said, I don't give a fuck what your compact says. It's only fucking stamps. And he's in there cutting my fucking phone calls off. But at that time, this other prisoner had turned up, who grabbed hold of him and said, Frank, this way, this way. Took him away to have a bit of a word with him. Didn't work. Then there was a standoff on the one's landing. Now, to
Is that staff and prisoners?
Yeah. One prisoner, it was Frank Burley. He had a pool cue. No, in fact, it was a table leg he'd broken. It was a table leg. And he's basically, someone had hit the alarm bell for staff assistance, and the wing was flooded with staff. I believe to this day that Frank didn't want to do that. That was his way of going off that unit with a bang, because he now didn't have the balance of control on there amongst the prisoners.
Yep.
This other fella from London did. And I think that was Frank's way of, well, I'm getting off here, but I'm not going to say, can I go off here, please? I'm going to make a scene.
Did he go to the SEG?
I took him to Durham.
Oh, you took him to Durham?
He went to Durham immediately.
Did they have a special unit?
No, he went to their SEG, and funnily enough, Maudsley was in that SEG unit when we got there. I never met him, but we got him to Durham. I was cuffed to Frank, and it was absolute intimidation by the SEG staff at Durham from the moment he got there. And I'm thinking, please get these cuffs off. It's all right going nose to nose with him.
Yeah, but you're cuffed to him.
I'm cuffed to him. My arm's going to get broken if this goes. And yeah,
that is a no, that is a possibility. Isn't it? I've been in that position. You're cuffed to someone. If it kicks off,
you've got.
There's a good chance that
your arm's getting broken,
or both your arms are going to get broken.
Anyway, we got. I know I'm digressing a bit, but we got him to Durham.
Yep.
He was fine all the way there. Absolutely no problem. Chatting, laughing, joking, and that's even more so. I believe it was his way off that unit, rather than saying, "Look, I've got to go." He made a scene. We got him to Durham, and this massive gorilla of an SO come and said, "What's your name?" He goes, "Oh, come on, Gov, you know my name. It's Burley. What's your number?" "Oh, come on, Gov. You know me." "Yeah, but Burley, I want you to tell me what your number is. Tell me what your number is." And he's almost touching his nose, and at that point I'm thinking, do you need to while I'm cuffed to him?
Yep.
And all the young staff behind, oh, got another plaything. And I'm thinking, no, he's not a fucking plaything. But that was Durham SEG staff. And they finally got the cuffs off, and I said, "Listen, Frank, take it easy. Just keep your head down, mate." And we walked off, and they said, "Right, over here, Burley." They stripped him on the little podium in the strip cell.
Yep.
They marched him no more than from here to that fence, 20 foot away, into his cell. "Right, strip search." "Oh, fucking come on, Gov, you just stripped me in there." Strip search. Because you can with the Cat A move from wherever they move.
Of course you can.
You can strip search them as many times if they've moved different areas. They classified that 20 foot as a new area.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's just over the top.
Yep.
Over the top. And the staff come in the office when they banged him up. "Oh, a nice little plaything. I think we're going to have some fun with him this afternoon." I don't know what happened after that. We went back to Hull. But no, he did change the dynamic, and someone else turned up and changed it back again, and we never got it back. We never got that dynamic back.
That is a good place to stop.
Okay.
The camera will be overeating.
Right. I'm overeating.
I'm overeating.
I think I've spoke too much. I talked too much.
No, you haven't. I've absolutely, thoroughly enjoyed that. We are going to return to the Hull unit and talk about somebody else that I just want to know from your perspective, some of these people, these high profile people that you read about, what it's like actually working with them. So, Cuddly Chris, thank you for your time.
No
thank
problem.
you for your
No,
honesty.
I enjoyed it. Always honest.
Alcide, do you want to?
Thank you.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you very much.